Sense of place is the term used to describe the emotions and experiences we associate with places. It's how places make us feel. A sense of place is what gives an area its identity and makes it different from elsewhere. It is made up of the different landscapes, wildlife, history, people, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, memories, and many other things that contribute to our experience of a place. The sense of place approach, pioneered in the early 2000s, has been used across the UK by protected areas and institutions, such as the National Trust, to help people identify and promote the special qualities of different landscapes. It also has a strong commercial aspect, and is used by many businesses for the purpose of product branding and marketing, notably in the tourism and food and beverage sectors. In 2018, Project 21 was planned to be a Landscape Routes mobile phone app. This intended to produce an app providing interpretation of the landscape from walking and driving routes passing through the call area to engage visitors. Before we embarked on this work, we did some market research to assess the viability of developing a tourist-based app and to ask visitors and locals what sort of information they were looking for and how they wished to access it. Initial desk research identified several potential sources of information and details appropriate to visitors, while also recognising the increasing need for apps to meet the mobile demands of tourists. The survey was designed and tested with input from CALL and its partner organisations, ensuring important core data was collected in relation to the access information. Overall, the responses from visitors suggested that a single interest app would not reach the intended targets at the rate required, and the ability to monetize to continue development would be lower than required. The ongoing need for printed maps and leaflets would not be displaced by the use of an app, but would be seen as complementary, particularly when visiting the area. The research recommended developing content for the CALL website or a new area mobile website with clear links to tourism businesses. So we took stock and redesigned our project to achieve our outcomes in a way that would have greater resonance with visitors. We saw an opportunity to provide a strong, authentic message from the grassroots, not a story about what Coigach and Assynt are like from the perspective of a Central Belt design marketing strategy, but from our story, from the people that live and work in the landscape. To do this, we chose the sense of place approach, but instead of making this about Coigach and Assynt as a destination or a brand, we went deeper and considered how telling our story would appeal to people who might consider moving here permanently, or how it might be used by someone researching our area, or how we could use it to connect our children more closely with the landscape. We decided to produce a sense of place toolkit similar to those developed by Galloway and Southern Ayrshire Biosphere, Morecambe Bay Partnership and Forest of Bowland, for use by a whole range of stakeholders. The messages and stories that came from this work would then be fed into the development of a book, The Walker's Guide to Coigach and Assynt, and embedded into the already existing local guide app developed by a business that started in Assynt. In May and June 2020, we engaged the communities of Coigach and Assynt in discussing what they love about their local landscape, what gives each place its unique character and sense of place. The online workshops and survey captured a combined total of 74 responses. Participants were drawn from the communities of Coigach and Assynt, together with a small number of responses from people outside the area. The majority of respondents, over 50%, had lived in the area for more than 10 years, yet a notable proportion, about 20% of those consulted, were relative newcomers, having lived in the area for less than a year. The workshops held on the 29th of May 2020 gave opportunity for participants to express what they love about Coigach and Assynt separately and then together. They were asked questions to help them describe what gives the landscape its unique character, what contributes to local people's sense of place. Through open discussion, we found that in Coigach, these 7 topics emerged as being important to people's appreciation of the area: the beach, changing weather and landscape, pollution-free, mountains, freedom, sense of community, creativity. In Assynt, 8 topics were uncovered: lochs, differences in scale, colours, people, different types of landscape, seasonal changes, light, and woodlands. Within each topic, the words people used to describe them were recorded along with other special things about each area. The topics were further explored through online survey that generated very similar results, with a sense of belonging and a historic landscape both seen as significant contributors to people's sense of identity in Coigach, and the importance of wildness, remoteness and solitude, the natural character and diversity of the landscape, and a strong sense of belonging emerging as important to Assynt. We then sense-checked these results with community leaders and those who volunteered to help with the development of a sense of place toolkit. From this, it was agreed that the contributions were so similar that Coigach and Assynt would combine their important topics into one set of sense of place themes. A local researcher and writer was engaged to refine this, and in consultation with community volunteers, agreed to a final set of 6 important themes. A place filled with cultural heritage, creativity and community spirit. Immersive landscapes ripe for exploration. Beautiful beaches and wild shores. Island mountains. A place to care for. And a place to live. Descriptions were produced for each theme, using the language used by community members to describe their sense of place during workshops and surveys. In other regions of the UK, the next step of the process has been to gather photographic content to illustrate the themes, but in Coigach and Assynt we took this a step further. Professional commissioning and curation services were sourced, and a creative call was given to the local community, which resulted in 13 artists commissioned to create poetry, spoken word, sketch, videos, ceramics, jewellery and writing, as well as fantastic photographic content. This content is now available for download on the North West Highlands Geopark website. Anyone who wants to understand more about Coigach and Assynt is encouraged to use the toolkit. 3 local businesses were invited to act as case studies to help demonstrate its use. The sense of place work then went on to inform the development of the Walker's Guide to Coigach and Assynt. Following a tender process, an editor-compiler was contracted to rethink and update the Assynt walking network and Walks Around Acaltabui guides. The routes they described were combined into one guide and additional routes added in consultation with the local tourism groups, Discover Assynt and Visit Coigach. Each route was walked in close communication with the Heritage Trail Project and Geopark officers, allowed a joined-up approach to interpretation of the landscape. A strong emphasis was given to the Scottish Outdoor Access Code, and at each stage of writing local landowners were given the opportunity to feed back, leading to tailored access information to help users make responsible choices. The guidebook will now be self-sustaining, with proceeds from sales being reserved for future reprint. Any profits will be split between 3 local not-for-profit organisations, the North West Highlands Geopark, the Assynt Development Trust and Visit Coigach, contributing to the future sustainability of these 3 organisations. The final element of our sense of place work was enhancing a pre-existing commercial mobile phone app. The Local Guide, developed by 2 young entrepreneurs originally from Assynt, is a small-scale operation offering downloadable audio tours of the Highlands. Points of interest from Coigach and Assynt heritage groups were collated and organised into the Coigach and Assynt Local Guide, which is now free to download from the Google Play Store. As users cycle, walk or drive around the region, they can now listen to music and stories about local sites in their own time using geo-referenced location tags. Using the Sense of Place toolkit, guidebook and mobile phone app, we now have a set of tools to effectively communicate with a very wide audience of stakeholders, the importance of our heritage and what makes our area unique and special. This immersion in our community, its landscape and how it formed, gives stakeholders the information they need to begin to consider the needs of the environment and the people who live in it. We hope that stakeholders, including visitors, businesses, politicians, decision makers, and even new residents, will now find it easier to feel our strong sense of identity and engage with Coigach and Assynt on an emotional level, particularly where they are encouraged to explore further by local community messages, the local walk guidebook, and have engaged with the Local Guide Scotland app.